Welcome back to 9 to 5 Mom with the Pod. I am your host, Fran, and today's guest, her name is Marianne Hickman. She's an international speaker, trainer, and personal mentor who has graced over 2,000 stages worldwide. She's not just a speaker, but she's a powerhouse in helping industry experts monetize their message and turn their speaking into profitable businesses.
We're talking millions on TikTok and Instagram. There's a part of us, when we look at that, there's a little bit of envy. They're like, oh, shoot, how do I do that, right? How do I get that big? What you're really doing is you're not allowing your people to get close to you. You're not creating a community and you're not creating a following. And I'm stoked that you're getting brand deals. I want to learn how to do that. Let's create something around this. Let's create a community. Let's create a group where people that are vibing with this can support each other.
Today, we're going to talk about niching in your podcast. And this is where Marianne comes in and where her expertise comes in, where we really want to help you guys niche your podcast and how, and Marianne's going to explain it to you, how anybody can really start a podcast and have a voice. And if you're really good at something, and I think we mentioned it slightly yesterday where we said, hey, in my yesterday's recording, it was if you're into knitting, there's literally a knitting podcast that I did not know about until yesterday. But if you're really into that and you have an audience and you have a voice, and that sometimes we focus too much on the numbers and the masses, and that maybe we can just create a community and start there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think having a loyal community is much, much, much more important than having huge numbers en masse. And I've seen this over and over again. I have friends who are amazing, amazing, incredible people. We're talking millions followers on TikTok and Instagram. And I'm not saying like I know of these people. These are friends of mine. Like we
Right.
spend time at each other's houses. And they're what you would legitimately call an online influencer because their following is so massive. And there's a part of us when we look at that, there's a little bit of envy. They're like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
how do I do that? Right? How do I get that big? And then on the back end, it's this. Okay, so you've got viral content. It's amazing. Gosh, I was just texting my buddy, and they're like, our last video got hundreds of millions of views, like 800 million views. It's crazy,
Oh,
so good. But I'm saying, okay, so in that, where is your conversion? And yes, I understand.
yes.
We don't want to talk about numbers, but sometimes they can be a measuring stick of your community, right?
Yes.
And if your email list is not anywhere close to that, like I was chatting with them, their email list is about 20 people, 20,
Oh,
and they have millions of followers. And I said that what you're really doing is you're not allowing your people to get close to you.
correct.
And you're not creating a community and you're not creating a following. And I'm stoked that you're getting brand deals. I want to learn how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if it were me, and I'm putting judgment out there, and I shouldn't, but if it were me, I would say, okay, if I had 800 million views on a video, then I would say, you know what? There's obviously something here that people like. Let's create something around this. Let's create a podcast. Let's create a community. Let's create a group where people that are vibing with this can support each other.
Yes, there's the reason the numbers come up a lot, I feel, is because we are in a society where we are all about numbers. Um Obviously there's a balance. You obviously need to know your numbers about business, you need to know your numbers of, conversion. You need to know that because that's all part of the game and
Mhm.
part of the business, especially in podcasting. You need to know where your return on investment or your conversion lies. Because in the beginning, obtaining sponsorships is going to be incredibly difficult because that is a numbers game. I've seen this a lot, and I talk about this in all my episodes, how I see guides on Instagram that they're like, oh, in these 3 steps, you're going to make a million views, or in these 4 steps, this is how to get 100,000 followers in 2 days or in 2 weeks or something like that. And I'm like, that is such a you're not getting anyone. And it's hurting your numbers,
Yeah.
especially with me, because I have a lot of my audience are moms, particularly mom content creators. I have a lot of profiles that they just want to put on the top of their profile what their biggest, most performing video is that has nothing to do with their brand at the
I
bottom.
made that mistake. I
Sorry, Marianne, but what is going on here?
I had a video that went super viral for me. It was over 1,000,000
Yeah.
views, and, it had nothing to do with my content. Nothing, and I pinned it at the top to make myself look good. I'm
Right.
like, "This isn't helping anybody. What am I doing?"
Right. So the conversion is that, like, where do you convert your people? And again, numbers gonna matter later, like
Yeah.
later in life. So yeah, I completely agree. And in podcasting, finding your niche, I feel like that will really, really help you start at a good ground. Like you'll have
Mhm.
a perfect base because otherwise you'll be in a house of cards. I come
Oh, yeah.
from like an influencer family. Like I have a ton of like my cousin is an influencer, like, full time, and I understand what they say about, like, "Oh my gosh, it reached this number," but that's their expertise is different.
Mhm.
They're directly hitting, the large masses because they need to. In podcasting, and if you wanna teach something, let's say, you wanna teach about knitting or you wanna teach about, how to edit on Canva or whatever, you know, whatever your expertise is, you can actually, implement that into a podcast.
Yeah, 100%, and the thing is, most people, and I'm sure you went through this just like me,
Oh,
when
probably.
we like this niching down thing, we resist it
Yes,
so much, right?
yes.
Because we're so scared that, like, what if I miss somebody? If I niche down, that I'm leaving all of these
All these
people
people.
out, right? I'm leaving them behind and I can't serve them. But here's the reality, and I learned this by practicing it, but I also equate it to what I used to do. I used to be a photographer. I still pick up a camera
Oh,
from time to time and all this stuff, but
that's
I
great.
spent 25 years in the photography business.
Wow.
And
Fabulous.
it was fun. It was weird. I learned a lot about business. I fell on my face. I just wish I knew
Yeah.
now. But like I wish I could transplant that information back then. But anyway, so I when I was first shooting, right? I would go out and I would shoot because we don't pay for film anymore.
Mhm.
Click, 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 click,
Right.
click, click. We can go click happy. And I went on a family photo shoot, and I remember coming back from that family photo shoot. Cute little family, adorable, and I came back with 800 photos.
Ouch.
Yeah, which meant that I had to spend if you're a photographer, you know this. You click for an hour and a half on the shoot,
Yeah.
and then you spend 8 hours editing. Maybe even more if you're doing what's called culling. Culling is when you take that list of that file of 800 photos and you have to mark which ones are usable and which ones aren't.
Oh, wow.
So you're
Uh-huh.
up till 2 in the morning doing this. And then after you cull, you're taking the photos that are then usable and culling again to find the ones that are good,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And this is the chaos of this. And we learn as photographers to, instead of gunshotting your photo shoot, which is like capturing every frame that you possibly can, we learn to shoot clean, which means instead of taking 800 photos, I'm probably taking 300.
Mhm.
Right? And I've got a mass of pretty good photos, and then I'm gonna find the great ones from that, but I've eliminated more than half my workload because I've gotten good at focusing, and that's what I want to convert into this niche conversation.
Oh,
Niching down is not about eliminating people that could be your potential clients.
correct.
If we're doing that, we're thinking about it wrong. Niching down is about focusing. The reason we throw crappy photos away
Mhm.
is because they're not focused. They're either blurry or the subject isn't even in the frame correctly. It's not focused on the right thing. And we don't like that. Nobody likes that.
No.
No business owner likes having sales conversations with people that aren't their ideal client. It's just a waste of time, just like staying up till 2 in the morning editing photos. So if you can niche down and understand your clients so well
Mhm.
that they are drawn to you instead of you having to do all the busy work of
Exactly.
trying to shout from the rooftops and nobody can hear you, that's the best way to do it.
I think that's fabulous. I love that you brought that up, and I love the explanation that got us to this particular topic because that is very common in photography. I dabble. I don't know about photography. I didn't even know about culling. Like that's something that I learned today. So hey, you learn something every single day, and that's what I love to do. But yeah, I know about photography basics, I guess. But you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. And we do that also with our own iPhones where we're constantly like taking pictures, taking pictures, taking pictures. And then all of a sudden you have like 1,800 like pictures of your vacation and you're like, "Wait,
Yep.
what happened here?"
And
Like
now
this
you're out
is
of space and you can't capture that moment with your baby because your vacation photos are taking up your phone.
exactly. So, yes, I want to really hone in on that because niching down in your podcast, some people, I guess the fear of niching down is is the numbers game fear, but you have no idea that there's a community of people that would particularly like what you're talking about and that they will be your loyal followers and your loyal audience for years to come. And you can actually monetize with that. And I think that there's also a misunderstanding or misconception that why can't you just start your podcast at the center of your business so that way you can monetize your actual business? And your
Mhm.
podcast is just a way that forget about sponsorships for a second,
Mhm.
for a particular moment. That's a whole nother conversation. But if you could just have a podcast, really, tell everyone your message. Tell everyone what you're passionate about or what you want to help them with. And you want to just talk about it. Or you have guests that want to talk about that particular topic as well, whichever it may be. Um, you can actually convert that into a business.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't need to worry about the sponsorship portion, the numbers game and all that stuff. No, your business is the people that you're actually helping. It could be a consulting business. It could be, if you're actually, let's say, a photographer and you're talking about photography, well, now it's your photography business that it's being exposed out there. And there's so many things out there. And I feel like that's what podcasts open the doors to because originally it was about the numbers game. Like, oh, these are the top two podcasts or the top five. And you also have to know that these top five, these top 10 podcasts are within the range of their host. So, for instance, we have Apple, we have Spotify, we have Buzzsprout, and all the others.
Mhm.
Whenever they say you have 100 downloads, for every 100 downloads, you'll be in the top 25%. That's just in their dojo in a sense, right? You're
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
accounting for all the other podcasts that exist in Apple, Spotify, Castaway, whatever it's called. So all these other podcasts. So you're competing against all these people, and then you see, oh well, Call Her Daddy is number one or two, and Joe Rogan is number one on the charts or whatever. I can't compete with that. I'm not saying you have to compete with that. I'm
Nope.
just saying that you need to focus differently. Like again, the whole photography example.
Yeah, yeah, and here's the thing, gosh, it's fun to shoot for number 1,
Yeah,
right? Mel Robbins just did this, she actually just passed Joe Rogan, and I'm like, "Oh, that
she
was way to
did.
go, girl," like, nothing against Joe, I love his podcast, but you're right, I was just proud of her. So it's not about being number 1 in your niche
Right,
because all that's gonna do and girl, I have won award after award after award over the course of my life, and the awards don't make you money.
right.
They don't. They feel good for a second while you're on stage and you're like, "Yeah, here's my 2 comma club," or, "Yeah, I just won I'm in the top 25% of video podcasts on Spotify right now."
Wow.
Yay, cool, fun, so what?
Right.
So what? If you're not podcasting in a way that reciprocates to you in a sustainable way, then those awards mean nothing. I have a closet over behind this wall, a closet full of medals that I won from doing races, right? Like
Mm.
5Ks or marathons or whatever. And they're sitting on the floor in that
Oh.
closet right now. Cool. Great. I won the medals. You know what was cooler than winning the medals? Being able to run a marathon. Having the body that was fit and healthy and strong and had the endurance, that was the reward. When I did my bikini competition, I won a little tiara. Whoop-de-doo. Like, my award was being able to say, "Marianne, you can do
Congratulations on
great."
all your awards, by the way. What is
Well, I
going
mean,
on
like,
here? We need a list of your awards.
I mean, the point is that the award's not important. It's what who you become. So if I'm getting all of these awards, that means that
Right.
I have become the person that is resilient enough, strong enough to do that. And if when it comes to podcasting and winning awards in podcasting, yeah, that's cool. They give you a social credit score, but is that going to feed you?
Right.
Is that going to keep the electricity on?
Right.
Is that going to support your business? And you're right. That's the focus is Fran, when I thought about podcasting, I was like, was there any other way to do it? It didn't even occur to me that you would podcast in a way that wouldn't support your family. And
Mhm.
yes, sponsorships are great, like you said, but in my podcast, I don't have a single sponsor yet, but I sponsor my own podcast, which means my call to actions are supporting my business. People
Exactly.
come to me for my expertise, So listen, if you're listening to this and you're thinking like, oh my gosh, podcasting is so cool. First of all, I would say follow the Ikigai principle, which is to say, do podcasts about something that you love and enjoy.
Correct.
Otherwise, your podcast will not be
Yeah,
great.
yes, it's not gonna
Like,
yeah, that's the number one thing I would say, like, if you're not gonna like it, like, if you don't have a passion for this, don't do it. It's just gonna be an
yeah,
expensive ass hobby.
yeah,
Sorry.
that's amen.
Woo!
Amen. Preach, right?
Yeah.
Make sure it's something that you enjoy. And then you've got to carve a path from something that you enjoy to your bank account,
Yes,
which means create something that is so valuable and put a price tag on it and a point of sale system that people can say, "Oh, yeah, I want you what you have more than my money. Take my money so I can have it."
correct.
Make it a business that thrives, and then you'll never go to work again. Brandon, it took me so long to learn
It's
this, and it just seemed like flowery language at first. This
a lot
do
of
what
the
you love.
times when people tell you those things, like like right now we're telling the audience, like, this is what you should be doing, or this is what we did that worked that could may work for you, right? A lot of the times there is a mindset block where they're
Yep.
like, "You know what? I don't think that's attainable," or "I'm afraid." There sometimes I've had conversations with actual moms and mom creators who do not wanna set their prices because they're afraid to
Ugh,
ask.
that hurts. That makes me wanna cry.
No, it
Seriously.
literally did hurt. And you know what hurt even more? That because they wanted to really retain the business of, because 'cause I'm part of this, mom group, and it hurt my feel I literally was about to be like, "I feel like if I respond to this, I'm gonna just cry."
Yep.
Because the topic was, how long do you keep your, UGC sponsors videos up?
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, well, that should be on the terms of your agreement, right? Depending on what that is.
Yeah.
But, let's say there's none. I usually say, let's say 30 days, right? Because that's usually like the average, but that depends on the contract.
Yep.
I got unlimited amount of comments that said, well, not I got, but the group
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I didn't even know you had to take those down. I left mine up for like ever." And I'm like, all that money thinking, and sometimes with the intention thinking like, oh, they'll come back because they see that I still have it up. We can't work like this anymore. You have to set
That's
a
the
price.
mentality.
You have to set a price. You have to set boundaries for yourself. I said it. I don't care if you come at me. You have to set boundaries.
Yeah.
Really, like, what are we doing? Because otherwise, how are you going to feed your family?
Yeah.
You know,
Holy cow.
that's business. But also there's that portion of business and podcasting in particular that not a lot of people understand. Like, and I love what you said. Sponsor your own podcast is
Mhm.
brilliant because that is what we should be doing. Sponsoring our own podcast. I saw Megan Kelly. I don't know if you've seen her show, but I love watching her show because sometimes she throws things in there like in the about like set wise, like sometimes the camera zooms out a little bit too much and then you can kind of get ideas and, inspiration from that. And I like to
Mhm.
do that with multiple podcasts like Joe Rogan. I do that with a bunch. But in one of the episodes, I was like, oh crap, I want to take this into and actually put it on my own sponsoring your own podcast.
Uh-huh.
She was talking, I don't know what it was about. And then and literally in the middle of the episode, she puts a QR code. And I go, what is that? And I literally put the QR code. Oops, sorry guys. You know that I have my license in the back of my phone.
Cover it. Cover. 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 Blur.
I just realized I go, wait, what is that? Sorry.
That's
Um
amazing.
Anyways, I go, what's that QR code? And it was a link to her website.
Yeah.
To her blog, to basically behind the scenes, and I said, "You know what? I wanna take that idea and really hone it into the podcast because I feel like that's brilliant."
Yeah.
And what better than to do that, and that's something that I really wanna start doing where we leave the QR code and let's say, you're my last interview, right? The first thing that comes up on the website is, "Oh, my latest interview with Marianne Hickman." And those things were really valuable, things that you learn in podcasting that are part of business.
Yeah, oh yeah, and we do that too. When I record my shows, my first 5 minutes, I talk about, my thing is all about getting your message on stage,
Mhm.
right? And so I have this podcast database I've taken over the last 5 years, all of these emails, and I had a VA put them in a database that says, "Here's 1,000 podcasts
Oh,
that all need guests. Here's their links included. So you can just go use this and it's free." I just hand it out. In the first 5 minutes of my podcast, I interrupt myself. And I
mm.
don't do a QR code because I have a lot of visual listeners.
Oh, nice.
So I want them to be able to, like, if they're driving, I want them to be able to have a earbug instead of a QR code that they have to scan. But I do the same thing. I'm like, here, go to this website and download this list. And I interrupt my own show. Mel Robbins does the same thing.
That's wonderful.
So you can turn your it's called a tripwire. I don't like that term because it seems like Viet Cong, like hunting in the woods, right? But you should be saying, if you're not offering, it's back to what I was said before. No matter how big your audience is, if you're not offering for them a way to get closer to you, to
Yes.
get closer to what you're doing, then you're ripping them off.
Yeah.
Because there, I time after time after time, people. I mean, I'm sure you've done this, where you're like, I love what I just heard. How do I get more? Every
Yeah.
time I go to an event, I'm looking up the speaker on Instagram
Yeah.
and I'm like, do I like their stuff? I'll give them a follow because I want more of what they're producing. So if
Right.
we're not putting up a QR code or a website or a phone number to get close to people, the right people will come close to you because you're
Correct.
so niche down in your message.
Yes. I really welcome that because, um, the message part now skipping over to that, right? Because I really wanna
Mhm.
hone in on the niche in your message. Um, your entire podcast needs to be what I would prep the episodes before, and I'm not saying an outline. Ideas, episode ideas. And it's very similar to content creation where you put a list of topics down and you say, oh, these are the list of 20 topics that I want to talk about in this particular episode.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
particularly split mine in seasons because that's how my editor wanted it, right? It's like, oh, season one, motherhood, balancing, blah, blah, blah. Season two, all about podcasting. But
It's a brilliant idea.
so let's say right now you want to just do everything related to podcasting or everything related to baking. I don't know. Let's just say baking. You put all the list of ideas down and say, okay, you know what? These are the things that I want to talk about. The fundamentals of baking. What kind of um I guess tools and essentials that I need for baking, etc. You write everything down, and then you get a guest, and you literally match that guest to that particular topic and say, hey, I'm talking today about the baking fundamentals and what tools that I need, you know? And he says, "Oh, you know what? Well, I'm a chef for a particular, restaurant, whatever." Okay. So now we can talk about that particular topic. But you can kind of match it. Let's say you don't have guests and you just want to do a solo podcast just for yourself. Just write it down and
Mhm.
prep your episodes in outlines. Because I tried to do that mistake of I was afraid of talking to the camera. So
I went through that too.
I bought a teleprompter and then it was like to actually have it talk the way I talk and then, try to do the script, horrible.
Oh,
Even
it trips you up really
yeah,
fast.
because then, like, I'm reading and then I'm like, "Oh, that thing is going way too fast," and all of a sudden, I'm talking about something else. So, the whole thing about I had to get over that. Like, literally, I was like, "Oh, like, what is the another way that I could, speak a little bit, better and not be afraid of the camera while doing podcasting is like, well, you have to get over it. Like literally, because
Just
there is
stop
no
it.
other there's nothing else. Like
It's
s-
Bob Newhart. Have you seen that skit on Saturday Night Live? And he's like, "Stop it."
yes, I love SNL. And then, but yes, it's true. Like it's just write it down, niche down your topics, and then you'll have an idea of where you're at and where your roadmap is. That's
Mhm.
essentially, I guess, the goal that I want to get to you, where you eventually will understand. And then later you get into more advanced topics because not only you're learning along the way, you can what you're never going to run out of ideas to talk about because things change every single day in every single industry. And I
Yep.
feel like you could just talk about something that the same business fundamentals of the tools, but the new tools, the new
Yeah.
2025 baking tools, so.
Oh, and that's great. And I love what you're talking about as far as outlining and niching down. ChatGPT can be a really big help for that. But you
Yes.
know what the other really cool one is? I discovered this a couple of years ago.
Which one?
It's called Quora,
Quora. Oh,
Quora, right?
isn't that, Quora? Oh my goodness. I thought it was not Quora, where you ask questions, right?
That's the one, and here's why it's so cool is
Like
that
a
you can go
Reddit.
into
It's like a Reddit.
it's kinda like a Reddit. It's
Yeah.
but you really get the real current updated what is your audience asking about right there in the moment.
Okay, so explain that to me.
Okay,
So,
so this is yeah, it's really cool.
because
You go to
I'm actually very intrigued now. What is this?
Yeah, yeah. So you go to Quora or Quora.com or whatever, you can
Yeah.
use the app or whatever, and you tell Quora what you're an expert in. So you could put in motherhood, you could put in podcasting, you put in baking, you could put in knitting, you could put in
Mhm.
homesteading, whatever it is that you like to do whenever you're an expert in. And then
Okay.
what it does is automatically feeds you audience questions by users of Quora that are asking those things. And here's the other cool thing. When you see those questions in your feed,
Okay.
you can answer them in line so that now you're appearing as an industry expert to those people when you start answering those questions over and over and over again. But then you take those questions, you can screenshot them, put them on screen if you want, or you can just say, hey, here's a question I got, or here's a question I answered this week. What is the number one way to start your podcast? Or what is,
Right.
and you answer the question on
What?
your podcast and they're real time. These are real life questions that real people are asking and not just ChatGPT scraping based on its latest update. It's really
Oh,
cool. And
that
your YouTube videos can
actually
do that. It's awesome.
so, a little bit more about Quora, because I don't know much about it. So, is
Yeah,
this something that you have to pay? Is this free or
it's free. It's
it's
free. It's just
free?
yeah, yeah, it's just like having a Facebook account. It's a form of social media. It's more like Reddit than Facebook.
Okay,
But it's
yeah.
free. You just go on there and I always caution people when a piece of software is free because if anything's free, you are the product. So
Yeah,
and that's okay
but
as
that's
long
fine,
as you're
whatever. I mean, at this
yeah.
point, I think my name and email is everywhere right now.
I'm sure it's out everywhere, mine is too. But
I think I
Quora
did
is
that.
pretty dang cool because it's a live Q&A forum,
Nice.
and some people on there, imagine Wikipedia, if Wikipedia was a social media,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
Live and interactive. It's really dang cool, and there's because it's that, advice can be left, right, upside down, backwards, and sideways. So but you'll
Yes.
find really cool questions, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is what people are asking? Dang, okay, I'll create a podcast episode about that."
That's
And here's the other cool thing.
amazing.
I gotta tell you this. I learned this from Andy Elliott, and you probably already know this. Let me drop this bomb on you. So when you the reason that you wanna have it on YouTube is because YouTube is Google's little sister. They are besties, right? And whenever you type a question into Google, Google's going to give you the top, first of all, it's going to give you the sponsored ads that pay for that space. And then it's going to give you the Google search results. And in the Google search results, if your video answers that question, Google pushes your video free. So, what you want to do to leverage that is you title your video the question that you're answering.
Oh my gosh.
You're gonna title your video, "How do I start a podcast?" That's the title of your video. You title your video, "How do I get paid to speak on stage?"
Right.
That's the title of your video because that's what you're answering.
Don't
And
even
then you're
get
gonna
fancy
push
with the titles. Just literally type, like repurpose it. Like
Mhm.
literally repurpose it.
Yep, just make the title of the video the question,
People don't
and you'll get pushed.
yeah, a lot of the time there's like this fear because, and especially ChatGPT does this whenever they say, "Oh, come up with like, 5 titles that are, like very clickbaity." And then when you see it, you're like, "I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel," which is what I also ask. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. If there are tons of videos out there that says the podcasting fundamentals, how to start a podcast. You can have the same video, how to start a podcast in your own way.
Yep,
That's your video.
yep,
So
exactly.
I feel like that there's like this fear of like, oh my gosh, I have to be this unique person with this unique video title and this everything has to be, you know, um, just don't do that.
Just
Just
stop.
just stop. Just don't do it. And to get into YouTube for podcasting. So yes, so let me tell you something about podcasting to everyone. So you have your main platforms like mine. I'm right now on Apple and Spotify. It's easier
Mhm.
for me to be Apple and Spotify because honestly, My RSS feed is a lot easier. It's a one upload and then it goes right into the system and I don't have to worry about it.
That's nice.
So it's great. I try to limit myself with the podcasting platforms at the moment. Not that I'm not going to do that in the future, but right now I'm just sort of limiting myself. However, there is a funnel in podcasting that I feel like if you are going to get into, you should know. And that funnel you create. And the one that I created was, you have your audio on Apple and Spotify, and then you have your video on YouTube. Okay, now let
Yep.
me take you a step further. Oh, but YouTube is not for me because YouTube is male dominated because YouTube is
What?
whatever, blah, 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 blah. But wait, wait, wait,
What? What just
whenever
happened?
whenever you start getting if you're driving and you literally had that question, just stop. Okay. Yeah, but the YouTube because this and my algorithm is like, forget about it. Think of YouTube as a bank account. You right now don't have that much savings, but you're just depositing.
I
And
like that.
my husband gave me that idea because in the beginning, I was really adamant about not being on YouTube. I was really adamant about it. I was like, I don't want to be on YouTube because, I don't get the right engagement. I don't get the right things and blah, blah, blah. And my husband's like, you have to deposit on YouTube. Even if it doesn't do anything now, down the line, because he was showing me videos that were like 12 years old. This 12-year-old video has 15 million views. I guarantee you that it had 3 views when it was first uploaded.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you just deposit on YouTube, you leave it there. And it's also another way for people to find you. But what I didn't think, which you just gave me the idea, Marianne, thank you very much.
Got it. Got it. You got it.
Thank you. That's the nugget that I learned of today. You use YouTube because you use YouTube because it's Google's little sister to get you the free SEO that you guys have all been asking about. Like, how do I get free promotion? How do I get this and that? There it is. We just
Mhm.
answered your question. There you go. Where would you go with Quora on this? Hold on.
Yeah, do it. Do it. Yeah. And then look at that's the cool thing is that and you're right about YouTube and the concept you're talking about is being evergreen.
Yes.
Unlike
Thank you.
Instagram, which we love. Love you Insta, love you Meta. Be nice to me.
Very. Love you very much.
Like but your videos have probably a shelf life of 72 hours. Unless it catches. I've had videos catch maybe 6 weeks later, but even then, after it catches, then their shelf life just renews for another
Yeah.
72 hours, and then you're done. But the beautiful thing about YouTube is that it is evergreen, which means, like you said, I have a video. My most viral video. I don't know if viral is the right word, but my most viewed video on YouTube has like 500,000 views, and it's 5 years old. My hair's not even the same color. I'm like a shadow of who I am now, just because I've grown and I've evolved. But it's this video of I don't know why I bless the poor people that looked this up. It's how to delete Facebook Messenger messages, and I was like, oh, there's everyone watching that is in trouble. Like it's just that this thing from Quora that I got that I made a video on.
It was about
That's
how to delete Facebook messages. That's what it
yeah.
was.
Can you imagine the people looking that up that are in a panic about how to delete that message? Oh my gosh.
Wait, are
So
you talking about like deleting a message permanently or like what?
yeah, it's just like if you sent a message in Messenger that you didn't want to send, how do you delete it?
Oh, like at the moment, you mean?
Yeah,
That's
and
fabulous, by the way.
it's crazy. It's not even relevant to what I do now mostly, but anyway,
That's
it's my most
fabulous,
watched
though.
video because people are just in a panic of like sending a bad message to their boss, God knows what. But
Don't do
it's
that.
this video is making me money in my AdSense right now.
Wow.
It's it's crazy because I put it out there a year, 5 years ago? And because YouTube is evergreen, that search still shows up for people.
Oh my gosh.
I still get brand new comments in that video because of YouTube's evergreen. So when you're recording your podcast, please, for the love of everything that you love, put it on YouTube. Let yourself be seen. I've never heard this male dominated thing before. And if you're afraid of that, even more reason to get on YouTube to
Yeah.
like put yourself out there.
Yeah,
Get
'cause I
on there.
we were having a discussion, it was actually a mom Zoom, and one of the discussions, like, it was about how, so it was about the platform because we were doing a niche exercise. And part of the niche exercise was like, oh, go on YouTube and find what your niche expertise is. Like, what do you want to talk about for your particular topic? And we're doing this live, and then, I went ahead and typed in, I think it was a mom podcast or podcast for women or something like that, something along those lines. I
Yeah.
think I got maybe 7, 8 results at the most that were
Great.
probably like they didn't have that much views. It was like, oh, like 200 views, 300 views, but like there was nobody other than, let's say, and then Mel Robbins comes out, right? And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
that's like the top one, obviously. But anyway, and then the topic came about where it was like, oh, but there's not that much out there for women because, this is much of a male dominated space. And I was like, and I've also heard it on several interviews, very specifically. But I said, then if that's the case, this is where we go in. You,
Exactly. You found a
this
hole.
is where we go in. And I
You found a
actually,
hole in the market.
that's it. There's your white space because there is now you can actually gather, like it's very difficult for me even now to push the women, and I know they have YouTube. Everybody has
Mhm.
YouTube. But to push them through the channel, it's very difficult. But anyway, because they're mostly listening on audio on Spotify because we're driving and things like that. But if you want the
Because you're
video,
vacuuming or driving or whatever.
sorry
So
guys.
true.
But literally, like, but anyway, now we found a hole in the market. You just deposit on YouTube and you leave the videos there. You just don't even think about it. That's what I've been doing. I just
Yep.
basically started depositing in there because I had a previous brand before this podcast. I had a previous podcast that we would just talk about really about anything, but it didn't
Mhm.
do anything for me. Ooh, my camera's doing this. But it didn't really do absolutely nothing for me. Like I didn't feel talking about what's happening on TMZ basically. That's basically what it was.
Yep. Yep.
Like talking about, like what's happening with Ozempic or what's happening with celebrities. It just didn't really do it for me. And I was just like, I don't want to keep doing this. I want to do something where I can teach someone how to do something.
Mhm.
And I feel like the only way to do that is, you know, um, well, what do I know how to do? Podcasting.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hello. Haha.
Here we are. Here we are. And that's the thing. I don't think women give it themselves. And I know men sometimes do this too, but ladies, we're here. We're in our sisterhood right now, right?
Yeah.
I just want to say specifically to my sisters, we don't give ourselves enough credit
Right.
for what we know how to do. The phrase just a mom, oh my gosh.
I really just want to have I want to have a boot camp for whenever they say that to me and be like, I want you to run 200 miles.
I know, right? While you're taking care of the babies and while I saw the most brilliant ad recently, and I hope everyone has seen this, where they put out like an Indeed or a Monster ad like out there, and they get real applicants to come on. And when they do the Zoom interview, they recorded the whole thing and they're like, okay, this job is this is gonna be about 176 hours a week, which is all of the hours in a week. I don't know the actual number, and they said, "You're going to be do you have skills in driving? Do you have skills
I
in
remember that.
baking?" Right? And they do list all the skills of motherhood. Do you have skills in psychology? Do you have skills in emergency CPR? And all of these things. And by the way, this job requires all that, and we're not going to pay you. And all of these applicants were like,
Wasn't it a
no.
Mother's Day thing? Like
Yeah.
it was
And
a
they're like, by
Mother's
the way, this is what's
Day.
wrong.
It's so funny. It was a Mother's Day commercial last year, I think it was, where they were like telling I guess it was other females and males. It was just general
Yeah, it was
applicants.
open to everybody.
And then they were like, "Oh, that," they were giving all those descriptions, and then they're like, no." And it's like, "Well, that's what," and then at the end, I think they said something, "Oh, that's what your mom did," or "That's
Yeah,
what
and that
mothers
just made
do."
me cry. I'm
And I
like,
was
"Oh
like,
my
"Oh, drop it.
god." Yeah.
Drop
So
the mic."
for all of us to think that we don't have an expertise in whatever area, we're just lying to ourselves or listening to the devil who's lying to us because
Right,
he's trying to keep our greatness from being seen, and that the best tool that the adversary has, or any, I don't care if you believe in God or
right.
whatever, light or dark, there are forces out there.
Yeah.
I believe in God and the devil, and they're fighting for us to be on whoever's team we're going to be on, right?
Right, right.
So any limiting beliefs that are trying to hold you back, like you said, mindset earlier, is just someone or something trying to snuff out your light because it can't stand you.
Imagine.
And if your light is that powerful, we have an obligation to resist it. So if you're encountering resistance, it's because of how powerful you are. So Forget the idea that you don't have an expertise. Just forget it. Whatever you're passionate about, you might be really good at cleaning bathtubs or making soap
Right.
or knitting or crocheting or being there for your kids when they need you.
Yeah.
And other moms need to know how to do this while we're running our businesses and while we're running our podcasts, and because we get to have it all.
Yeah.
And we just need to learn from each other because no one has this figured out.
There's so much more to you than just, I'm a mom, or I'm a corporate mom, or whatever it is that that you refer to yourself as. There's so much more than that, and I feel like once you find your identity, you're going to be so happy. And the greatest thing about that, and I will wrap that up with here, the greatest thing about that is that finding your identity is accepted in today's world, because back in the day, and actually not even back in the day, I'm going to give it to
Wasn't
you
that long ago.
10 years ago, okay? 10 years ago, if you were to go up to anyone and say, "Oh yeah, I'm a podcaster, I'm going to start my YouTube channel," everyone would have been like, "Yeah, right. Yeah, right." And
Yep, yep.
today, now you go out and say, "Oh yeah, I'm a podcaster. I'm social media. I'm in this." And they're like, "Oh my God, that is so cool. What's your channel?" Like, it's accepted. And because it's
Yeah.
accepted, I feel like we should vibe it. We should ride the wave. And if there's something that you're passionate about, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, I got the same throat bug you do.
You see? I told you.
It's contagious.
It is.
Ty Lopez talked about this. When you say the wave, that's exactly what he talked about. We've seen it over the last century, actually.
Mhm.
The first wave we saw was the roaring 20s, right? When we started to really step into affluence and the assembly lines became into being, when we started producing cars and we started
Mhm.
producing things in mass. And then we had the golden age. Now we're in the 1950s and 60s, where we saw the rise of corporations. We saw the rise of
Yeah.
buildings in New York and in Chicago and in Denver. All of these, you know, Bell South became a thing and Quest became a thing and all of these big corporations became a thing. Now we're on the third wave of
Yeah.
this century, and now we're in another century, but here we are in the 20s again. Welcome to the roaring 20s, everybody. So we are in the rise of the personal brand.
Yes.
This is the wave to catch. It's like, and it's not going anywhere because you know what? The Industrial Revolution, it didn't go away.
Right.
We still produce cars. The rise of corporations, those didn't go away. Those are still big corporations. The rise in the personal brand, if it follows a pattern, it's not going away.
This is not going away. Technology is not going anywhere, meaning that your personal brand is not going anywhere. Social media
Yep.
is not going anywhere. And this is a testament to that. So just take advantage of it today.
Just, I want, listen, if you're listening to this and you have felt that kick in the chest, like Fran has and like I have,
Mhm.
that is that I'm telling you right now, and I'm going to go a little bit metaphysical spiritual for a second, if that's okay.
Of course.
When you feel that kick in the chest of like, I really should do this.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've been putting it off. Here's what really is happening. Okay. Someone somewhere out there is on their knees and they are praying for an answer.
Mhm.
And that prayer is vibrationally
Mm.
going through the waves of the world and hitting you in the chest.
Mhm.
That is an indicator that someone is
Yeah.
praying for what you have.
Yeah.
And I'm talking spiritually, of course, but I'm talking about metaphysically. So there are particles
Yeah.
in the universe that when I speak, they go through wavelengths, they go through the microphone, they go to your ears. Prayers are the same thing.
Yeah.
Someone is speaking and praying something into existence and it's hitting you in the chest
Yeah.
because vibrationally it is resonating. And you can do this experiment with tuning forks if you want, but it is resonating with you and it is literally pulling you. This is what surpasses motivation. Motivation will only push you for so long. This is what's pulling you, and I'm begging you to listen to that
Yeah.
because nothing is more important than the calling of your soul.
I feel like you have no idea the amount of power that you have if you just really, 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 really try. And with that, I want to thank everyone again for being here, for listening to us in this. I hope your drive was this long. I love this because this was such a great conversation. And again, Marianne Hickman, she has a website. I'm going to leave it in the description below. Please, please, please don't forget. It's mariannehickman.com, but don't forget to put that in your to-dos, where whenever you get out of the car or whenever you get a chance, go to the website. I'm going to leave the link below. And then when this goes on YouTube, it's what will also be in the description below as well. And if you have any questions, anyone, please reach out to her, get her
Yeah.
guide. She'll answer you. So it's all good. Marianne, thank you so much for being here today. It was such a pleasure.
Fran, I feel like we're new besties.
Oh my
Thank you so
god,
much for
I can't
having
wait to
me.
have you back. We should talk
I'd
about
love
more
to have
things
you.
because I feel like we could really go in deep in these conversations. But thank you again for having us. I mean, for having
Absolutely.
no, for thank you for having for you being
No,
here.
this is no, thank you for being the kind of person that you are and for letting me be on your show and share
Thank
just
you.
and I hope that it just reaches the if it just reaches one woman,
Yeah.
starts something that she was too afraid to start yesterday and just takes the first step, then this is a success and I'm grateful for it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And for all of you, thanks again for listening. And until next time.